Welcome to part 4.5 of the FPS tutorial series. Today we're going to be animating our view models in Blender. This part is optional. If you don't want to do this, that's completely fine. We're not going to be coding anything today. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure our view models are ready to be imported to Blender. So what I mean by this is, let's say we're going to start with the M9 view model. Let's say if we go to plugins, rig edit light, if I can find it, there it is. Yeah, we need to make sure our joints are in the right position, so all of these dots. The way we do this is if we click on the right M9 view model, we can actually go to humanoid root part, and where all of our joints are, if we go up here and click reset, it'll just reset them. Make sure you do it. You don't have to do welds. Welds, they don't really need it. Okay, you've done this. Make sure you duplicate this and put it into the view models folder. And delete the old one. Okay. So, what we're going to do is we'll click on the M9 view model. Click the drop down and click on Fake Camera. Hit the Camera Locker plugin, which I'll leave a link for in the description. And as you can see, we're locked into the camera of our view model. Now, we need to animate this. We need to get this model into Blender. The way we can do that is by clicking our model for our view model. And you use this plugin called Blender Animations. It lets you import and export Blender animations. If we click this, it'll probably ask you to select it, so just select it. And it'll bring up this menu here. There's a lot of buttons on this, just don't worry about it. The only ones we really need to focus on right now are these top three. So we're going to hit Export Rig. And now, if you look in Workspace, you'll notice that there's a bunch of different parts, like a lot of them. You could just delete them, or to make it quicker, just hit Clean Meta Parts. So now for this part we need Blender. You can download Blender from their website, Steam, or the Microsoft Store. I have it on Steam because auto updates. Yeah, but open up Blender once you have it. Alright, so for those of you who are new to Blender, I'm just going to run you through it really quick. So it's middle mouse to look around, it's shift and middle mouse to pan around your scene, scroll wheel to zoom, left click to select. You can set this in the preferences menu. It's A to select everything, shift A to add an object, or you can click up here. And with select you can click up here and press all. To delete something, it's X or the delete key. To scale something up and down, it's S. To rotate something, it's R. To move something, it's G. You can constrain these to the three different axes by pressing X, Y, or Z. So if I hit Y, X, Z. You can toggle camera mode by hitting 0 on the numpad, or clicking the camera button up here. So now that you understand how to navigate Blender, what we're going to do is we're going to delete everything in our scene. So you can do this by clicking on everything, or shift clicking, or just pressing A to select all, and then just the delete key or X. So now we're going to install another plugin, which lets us import our Roblox rig. I'll leave a link for it in the description. Download it, save it as a Py file, and go up to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, Install, and then select it. I already have it installed. Once you install it, a checkbox will appear, just click that, and a checkbox will appear like this one here. Just select it, and you're good to go. So, how do we do this? So if we go to File, Import, and if we look down here, we've actually got an option that says Roblox animations rig import obj. So obj is the file format, obviously. Yeah, this is created because of our plugin that we just installed. If we click this, we have to select our file of our rig, and that'll import the model. As you can see, it's kind of offsetted for us. I'm just going to delete it. The reason why it's offsetted is just deselect then everything and then hit camera locker again. The reason why it's off-centered is because it's in a different position. We need to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, set the origin position to 0, 0, 0. And now it's down here. Close the Blender animation plugin and open it again for this view model. Hit export rig and then just export it again. And I'm going to go back to camera locking with this view model. Okay, so we'll do that again. And now it's in the correct spot. So now that we've got our rig imported to Blender, hit rebuild rig and hit OK. I'm just going to hit Control S to save this, or we can go to File, Save As. Okay, now that we've saved it, I'm going to click on this weird thing, which is called the rig meta up here. And I'm going to hit H to hide it. I'm also going to hit N to hide this menu, and T to hide this menu. Okay, so we have our gun rigged, and it's looking pretty good. Okay, so what we can do first is we need to create a camera so we can see what you would see in game. So we'll create a camera, and it might be off-centered for you, it might be rotated weirdly, which if it is, just hit Alt-G to reset position and Alt-R. So now it looks like this. We're going to rotate it on the X, 90 degrees, and I'm going to rotate it on the Z, 90. Once it's in position, we can hit a 0 to toggle the camera, or right here. And as you can see, our field of view is kind of off. So I'm going to click this little camera button here, go to where it says lens unit, and change this to field of view. Now you could set this to whatever you want. I found that Roblox's default is around about 100 in Blender. So there we go. We have our field of view. I'm going to save this again. And I'm going to go to output properties, which is this like printer thing here, where it says frame rate. I'm going to select 30. You can go with 60, but whatever you want really, but I like to go with 30. So go to the animation tab up here, and this is what it looks like. I'm going to go through the way I like to set this up personally. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this, but I'm going to go with my way. So on this view here, I'm going to hit 0 to go into camera view. On this view here, I'm going to click this button and select graph editor. I'm going to hit N to get rid of this menu. Turn on normalize and then drag down from up here to create a new tab. I'm going to click on the dope sheet option and change this to action editor. Make this as small as possible, so it's just this. And that's about it really. Okay. One more thing I like to do is I like to add in like a cube or something, just so we can see what our camera looks like when it shakes. So if I click Shift A to add, I'll go up here and click add, and then I select mesh and cube. I can just drag this out somewhere in my scene by hitting G. I'll move it like down here, rotate it randomly. If you double tap R, you'll get this like weird rotation thing. I'm not sure what it's called, but Yeah. You can also hit S to scale. I'm gonna drag one up here as well. Shift D to duplicate, and I'm gonna rotate it randomly again. Okay. Have this. What we're going to do is we need to start animating. So we're going to go to up here, it says object mode, and with the rig selected we're going to change this to pose mode. Alright, now that we're in pose mode, let's move some stuff around. So as you can see, everything can follow our weapon. Like all of the parts of the gun follow our weapon except for the arms. That's because we're going to set this up in Blender. So in pose mode, with the right arm bone selected, or the one holding the gun, we're going to click, what's it called? We're going to click this button, which is bone constraint properties, and we're going to add a bone constraint. We're going to select child of, and then in target we're going to put rig, and the bone will be main. So what this will do is it'll make the arm that's holding the gun follow it, but this influence option, let's say we turn this down a bit, it will only slightly follow it. If it's on 0, it won't follow it at all. If it's on 1, it will constantly follow it. We're going to do the same with the left arm, but instead of putting the bone as main, we're going to put it as the magazine. So now when we move the magazine, it moves the gun, and when we move the gun, it moves the left arm as well, because the magazine follows the gun. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do is we need to add a keyframe to our timeline. We're going to select A to select, we're going to press A to select all bones. We're going to hit I to add a keyframe, and we're going to click location and rotation. So let's say we moved it up here. Let's say we got like frame 10 and we just move our gun up here. We add another keyframe called location and rotation. If we look through, it'll move our weapon, and if we play it, it'll move our weapon up to where our keyframe was. So we're going to do that pretty much, but we're going to use the graph editor, and we're going to make some firing animations, maybe a reload. Okay, and now let's say we make our gun rotate over here. Right. It looks kind of stiff. This is why we got this here, the graph editor. If we click this drop down underneath main, and we hide everything by left clicking on the eyeball symbol. Let's say we go to like Z quaternion rotation. If we move this, it will move our keyframe. That's down here. So these dots represent our keyframe. That's basically all you need to know right now for the graph editor. So we're just going to delete this keyframe, so we only have the starting ones. And I like to go to about frame 15 for this. And I'm just going to select all and add a new keyframe. Or just copy and paste the start one. This is so it turns back to its original state. I'm going to set the end to frame 50. Click on the main, and you can click these two buttons here to hide our bones, and these buttons here. Okay, you can also press them again to unhide. Okay, so in the graph editor, I'm going to select, well, down here, I'm going to go to frame 2, and I'm going to move my gun back. I'm going to insert a keyframe for location and rotation. So now we have this. It's still boring, we need more variation to it. So, we'll go to X location. These could be different for you, so make sure you look through all of them. So we're going to go to X rotation. This usually is 0 location, but So we need to make this a bit better. I'm going to move this keyframe back a bit. And let's say about frame 9, I'll copy and paste this graph editor node thing. So now it looks like this. We're going to select this and we're going to hit G and drag it down. So now as you can see, it like slowly moves back. Like it bounces back, then forward, and slowly moves back to its original position. If we add another keyframe in the middle of this and drag it up, I'll also drag this one a bit closer. But I'm going to hit G and X so I don't move it up or down. Now we have this, which looks a bit better. So I'm going to drag this down a bit, drag this up. Then we're going to give it a bit of rotation. So we'll start out with Z, which is like this for us. We'll rotate it up a bit, like that. But it looks kind of boring. So ways that we can improve this is if we move it forwards by 1, so it looks more realistic. And if we just do the same like pattern that we did before with like the X location, it'll start to look like this, which is pretty good. I think we can move this a bit closer. Yeah, that looks okay. So I also like to give it a bit of rotation on, let's say, the X. I'll just move it out that way. I'll also move that aside 1. And just experiment with it, see what you get. I like that. I think we'll do some on the Y as well. So just for this, I just like to make it shake side to side. Oh. Not too much. That looks pretty good. Okay. Oh, that's looking pretty good. But I'm gonna unhide everything. And I recommend looking up reference of the gun you're animating. So like on this pistol, the slide moves back. Same with a lot of other pistols. I'll just move it back to about there. I hit G, Y, and Y to do that. It could be X and X, or Z and Z. So now we have this. The slide moves back a bit slowly though, so we're going to move this end keyframe a bit closer. So now we have this. Moves a bit fast though. I like that. Now something I'm going to do is I'm going to select every keyframe, drag it along one, and then just copy and paste the first set of keyframes on the first frame. The reason why I'm going to do this is because on the second frame the hammer's going to hit against the ignition, the firing pin, and that's going to fire the bullet, which is how that works in real life. Kind of off. Yeah, just like that. And I'll keyframe that. And about like there, I'll make it so the firing pin returns back to its original state. I think that's our firing animation pretty much done. I'm going to give it a bit of camera movement. I'm going to click on the fake camera, and as you can see, our camera doesn't follow this spawn. So in object mode, we'll click on the camera, click on object constraint properties, add a child of constraint, target is the rig, and the bone is fake camera. It may look weird like this. If it does, click set inverse and it'll set back to its original position. Okay, nice. Now, when we rotate our camera bone, it'll rotate the camera. I'm going to delete every keyframe apart from the first two. And now, I'm going to make it shake the camera. So, yeah. Probably in the Y, not the Y. I think the Z. Yeah, the Z. In the Z quaternium rotation, we're going to give it a bit of like shake. I tend to make this not too aggressive, not too noticeable, because if we have recoil in our game, then it's going to shake a bit too much, and it's going to, as you can see, it's a bit too much, so we're going to move it down by hitting G and Y. It's still way too much. Graph editor takes a bit of time to get used to. And now if we press N and go to Roblox animations, we can press export. But before we do that, we're going to select all of our bones, go to the very last keyframe, which is on frame 24 for me, copy and paste the first keyframes just to make sure it's in the first in the starting position, and I'm going to set the animation length to 24. Also up here on the action editor, I'm going to click new action just to I'm going to click this shield icon, which is fake users. If you don't do this, your animation won't save. And up here, I'm going to call this shoot. So now we've got this. Looks okay. It's not the best, but yeah. I'm going to hit export animation, and down here it'll say copy to the system clipboard. It'll also give you the time length. So we're back in Roblox Studio. We're going to click import animation, and we're going to paste it in. And as you can see, it's in Roblox Studio. It looks a bit weird. Yeah. Let's go and improve it a bit. So just play around with it. Get something that you are happy with. I think mine doesn't move fast enough. Alright, so I've tried making it a bit faster, and now the length of the animation is 18 frames. So I'm going to set this to 18. That's a bit more than 18. I'm going to set this to 18, and now it looks like this. I'm going to make sure that's right. So I'm going to hit export again, and paste it in. And it looks like this in Studio. I think it looks okay, it's not the best. But if you hit upload animation to Roblox, it will bring up this menu. and I'll just create one called like M9. You can also override the old one by hitting this button here and selecting it. I'm gonna call this M9 shooting, and click this button to copy the ID. I'm gonna close the plugin, turn off the camera locker, and I'm gonna go to the M9 module script, and in this ID number here, I'm just gonna paste that old ID in. I really like it. Make sure it looks good when aiming down sights as well. Which I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah, I like it. So now it's actually starting to look pretty good. Yeah. And now, I'd recommend doing the same thing with the M4. Also maybe animate a reload. If you want a more in-depth animation tutorial, rather than this, I'll leave a link to a few in the description that helped me out when I started. I'd recommend doing a reload, maybe an inspect, things like that. Equip, de-equip, firing, reloading. You could even do stuff like checking ammo, like Escape from Tarkov. Yeah. So it's looking pretty good. I'm happy with it. In part 5, we'll actually work on shooting. Like actually firing and damaging other players. We'll also work a bit on third person, getting our character to actually hold a weapon. And yeah. Then we'll probably work on loadouts and attachments. And we'll see where we go from there. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if this helped you. Comment if you have any problems, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.